The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi everyone, how are you all doing today? Welcome along. How is everyone doing? Can I just get a quick sound and screen check? So, can everyone hear me all right? I think so. So we've got some replies in the chat. And can you see my screen here? It should be a Convertery funnel page. Great, loads of yeses. Okay, that's what we like to see to start off then. Excellent. So just to introduce myself, my name is Dan, and I'll just show you on our about page here, just so you can put a face to a name. This is me. If you've had any dealings with our support desk or in our Facebook group, then you might have come across me in the past. I deal with any queries that you've got about how to use Convertri, so you may well have come across me before. But if not, it is nice to meet you all. And today, hopefully, we can help with your knowledge of Convertri. So what we're going to do is show you how to build a simple lead funnel. So from start to finish in Convertri, we are hopefully going to end up from a blank page to something like this page here, which will basically allow you to have people come to your page, sign up here to your autoresponder list, and then be sent to a thank you page where they can download a lead magnet. So once we've done that, we'll then go on to some more general tips and tricks that I'll be able to show you in our editor. So these are just some of my favorite shortcuts, and they'll make your life a lot easier when you're using Convertri. So before we get into this, if I could just ask, just out of curiosity, how comfortable you would say you all feel with Convertri so far. So from 1 to 10, with 1 being that you've like barely looked at it, to 10 being that you're like an expert in Convertri. How would you all say? A couple of 1s, 4, 6, 2s and 3s. Yeah, okay, so that's a mix there. It's about the right level. So hopefully we can get those numbers up after today's webinar. Excellent. Okay, so let's get started then. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is come over here into your funnel, and then straight away we want to make a new page. So we're going to use the new page button up here, and that is going to pull up all of the Convertri templates that we have available for you to use. Now, you can obviously use a template page if you want to, and that will just make things a bit easier for you to start with. But the point of this webinar is to show you how to make one from scratch. So we're going to do just that. We're going to make a page from scratch, and also it is actually a lot of fun just to create pages in Convertri as well. So I would definitely encourage you to try and get used to the editor for yourself so that you can make your own pages. So that's what we're going to do today. We'll go up to create a page from scratch up here, and then we'll just call it opt-in. And as you can see, we've got our page now created here. So we'll go into the editor, so edit page, and that is going to bring up our editor, which will of course be blank to start with. So the first thing that we are going to want to do is get this nice background image on our page. So as you can see here, this is an image and it is actually covering the whole page. So we can do that now. And how to do that is you're going to want to come over to the left-hand side of the page, which is where you've got your elements toolbar. And as you can see here, we've got one for image. So if we click on that, it's going to bring up the image modal. Now, there are 2 ways you can add images into your Convertri pages. You can either upload like so. If you click this button, you'll be brought into your files and you can select an image, or you can use our built-in Pixabay integration and you can actually search straight off Pixabay and use their images. They're all stock photos and they are free to use. So don't worry about any licensing problems or anything like that. So just to give you a quick demo of how this one works, if someone could just give me like an object, please, in the chat. Frog, okay. Thank you, Brian. So we'll type in frog in the search bar, click search, And as you can see, it's going to bring up loads of lovely photos of frogs, quite a nice variety as well. We've got some more realistic ones, some puppets, etc. There's a good variety there, as you can see. So this has pulled these images straight from Pixabay. You don't have to go to the website or anything like that. You can just do it like so. And if you wanted to use one of these images, you could add that to your page, no problem. Now, we're not going to use the Pixabay integration today, and that is purely because we want to have an image which is bigger than 1920 by 1280 resolution. So the Pixabay integration only allows you to download images that are maximum that size, whereas our personal Convertery uploader allows you to add images much larger than that. Now, even though they are larger in size, and therefore you might think it would slow down the page, because Convertry's load speed is so fast, it doesn't actually affect that at all. So that means we may as well take advantage of the higher resolution. So we're going to do that now. So as I said, if you want to upload your own image, you'd click the upload button and it'll bring you to your files. Now, you're not going to be able to see that at the moment, but what I'll do is I'll get my image now for you. So here is the image that we're going to use. It's just uploading now. And as you can see, some of the images that I've put into my Convertery account previously. So if you did want to use one that you've already uploaded, you can just select it from the list. So now we've got our image that we want on the page. You click in on the button and then click select. And that will put the image straight on the page. So now we want to get it looking nice and full width. So we want the image to be a background image. We don't just want it to be this size. So what we're going to do is select the element like so, and then use this double arrow tool, which is the full width tool, and that is going to stretch it out to the full screen. And then we can use these resizing handles to make it larger. So we'll snap it up to the top and bring it down to about here. And now we have our background image. So the next thing that we want to do on this page is just add the top panel and bottom panel that you can see here. And that is merely for design purposes. They don't really serve any other purpose, but it does make the page look a lot more structured. So you've got like a top and bottom instead of it just being the whole image. So we'll add our panel, which is this element here, and I've added it now. Again, we're going to want to make it full width so that it stretches across the whole landscape of the page. And then again, we can use our resizing handles to make it smaller. And instead of going over here and adding another panel and then doing the full width option again, what we can do instead is just clone the element like so, and that will make an exact copy of it. So we don't have to click extra buttons. We're saving ourselves time there. So we'll do that like so and snap it down to the image. As you can see, if I want to make sure it's right at the bottom of the image, you'll see these pink snap lines. So that's exactly where the image ends. The panel starts, and then we'll make this a little bit bigger for the bottom one. Now, one thing that I actually should have done before I clone this element is set the background color. So I'll do that again now. So if we open the element properties and come to background, you'll see here we've got our color picker. Now, really cool feature about Convertry's color picker is that it updates while you make the changes live on the page. So as you can see, I'm scrolling from white all the way over to red, and the shade is changing as I do that. So that is really useful for designers or anyone really making a page and using these sort of colored panels, because you can see what the changes look like as you're making them. You don't have to set it and then try and remember what it looked like and compare it to something else. You can see that as it's happening. So there's two ways you can choose a color. You could even select one like this by just dragging it around and then landing on one that you're happy with. Or if you've got the exact RGB value from an element that you like the color of, you can copy and paste it into this section here, and that would bring up the exact color. Now, we're not going to do that today. We're just going to select our own. So we're going to go for like a beigey type cream. That's about right. And we'll select that now. And now if we clone our page, instead of me jumping the gun a little bit, it will bring up the exact copy, which is now the same color. So I won't have to faff around trying to find the exact color. It is now done for me. So we've got our background image and we've got our top and bottom panels. And now we want to add another panel to our page, which is going to act as our forms input backing panel. So this is going to be where we have like our headline, our copy, and our form elements where our prospects can sign up to our list. So if we add this like so and resize it, we can always change the size of it a little bit later on as well. And once we've done that, we are going to want to add our text to the panel. So using our text element, we can drag it along here, like so. And then we're going to want to type in our text that we've got on here. So we'll try and get what it says on our demo page. So we've got 7 top tips for slimming without starving. And then we'll add our next one. So we've had a question in, which is actually a good question about the mobile editor. Now we will cover that in more detail later, but someone's asking if we would suggest checking mobile each time we add an element. Now this isn't something I would suggest purely because it's going to be a lot of back and forth between the mobile and the desktop. Instead, if you make your page a mobile, Convertry's algorithm will actually automatically create it for you on mobile. So once you've made the desktop page, if you come over to the mobile, which is up here, which I will do that once we've finished the page, it will display the exact copy that it's made. You won't have to do anything to make that. It does it automatically, and then you can make any changes that you want to. But yeah, I wouldn't suggest checking each time just because it's probably going to be a little bit of a waste of your time. So we'll get the next bit of text in now. Find it hard. Don't worry, so do we. And then we'll try and remember this long copy. These 7 top tips help you lose weight. Yourself for 20 hours a day. That sounds about right. And then the last 2 bits of text we need is just one to prompt our prospects to enter their details. And finally, we just want one for like our spam text. So just to let our prospects know that we aren't going to spam them. Now, obviously, for your page, you don't have to use this exact copy. This is just an example, but feel free to base it on roughly this setup. Like we've got our headline, we've got our copy that's sort of telling our prospects what they're going to be getting when they download our lead magnet. And then we've got a little prompt. And then we've got just a bit of text that's basically just reassuring them that we're not going to spam them once they've signed up to our list. So now we've got our text in here. What we want to do is change the default text styles. Now you can actually change the way your text looks for each individual element up here on this toolbar. But one thing that is really cool with Convertri is you can actually set a page style, a text style, sorry, for your page, which will basically automatically update each text element so that when we add a new one, as well as the ones that are already on the page, they'll all be updated so that they look the same. So if you come into the page menu and then go to default text styles, you can see here we've got a paragraph option, and that is what currently the text is set to. So if we make some changes here, we change the font to, let's say, Lato, you can see in the background, even though it's sort of grayed out, it has changed the text there. And we'll change the line spacing as well, just to about 1.5, just because it looks a little bit better like that. And we'll leave everything else the same. The font size is fine, and we'll keep it as black for the color. And as you can see, all of the text elements that we previously put on the page have automatically updated. So let's just show you again, if we want to change the font. So we had Lato, let's say we wanted to use something different like Caveat Brush, which is a little bit more artsy. You can see it's updated that for every single element, and that is because we've got these set to paragraph. So if you come onto a specific element and go more, you can see that it's set to paragraph here, which is what we set this style to. Now we don't actually want this font, we want Lato, so we'll just undo that change. And one thing we are going to want to set, other than our paragraph style, is our heading style. So this element here, as you can see, we want this to stand out a little bit from our main text. So again, we're going to go to Page, Default Text Styles, but this time we're going to select Heading 1. And here is where we're going to make some slight changes from our main body text. So we'll choose a font that stands out a little bit more. Noto Sans should be fine. And then we'll go to about 24. Keep the line spacing the same, that's fine. And we'll put that as done. We'll confirm those changes. Now you'll notice that unlike the paragraph text style that we set before, it hasn't updated any of these elements, and that is because none of them are set to heading 1. So we'll select the one that we do want to be set to heading 1, which is this one here, and then we'll go to more, and if we change it to the heading 1 style, you'll see that it updates automatically, and we've now got our text styles set up on our page. So you can, as we've shown there, you can make individual edits. So say we wanted, we are actually going to want to make some changes to these two down here. So for the Enter Your Details one, we'll change the font size slightly, and we'll do the same for the spam text, just because we don't need those to be as big. They're just more subtle reminders. So we can change it like that, and we'll extend it out. And then for both of these, we'll set it to center align, so it looks a lot neater. So we've now got our text on the page, and we will add our form elements next. So we'll add first name, and then we'll add email. And these are the elements that your prospects are going to be able to interact with. So they'll be able to enter their first name in here and their email in here. And then the last thing that we need to make this form complete, before we make it look a little bit more tidy anyway, is our submit button. So we'll add that to our page like so. And we are going to want to change these slightly. So we want them to look like the text, and you can't actually set like default styles for the form element, so you have to change them individually. So if you select it, come into element properties, and then go to our input properties, you can see if you wanted to change the placeholder text, so let's say you wanted telephone number, you could type that in as so, and you can see on the screen it's changing here as we do that, but we're going to keep it as first name. And then we'll change our font to Lato to match our main text, and we'll do the same with our email. And then for the submit button, we will change the label to download, because that is what our prospects are going to be doing when they click on the button. And then we'll change our mode. We want that actually the same. We want that to be kept as sign up, so that our users can be subscribed to our list. So we've done that now. And the last thing that we want to do with our form elements is just change the styling of our submit button. So Noto Sans again to match our headline, and we'll make it bold. And we probably can make that about 18, just so it stands out a little bit more. Okay, so we've got everything that we need on our form now. If we go to our demo page, you can see we've got our heading, our main text, two little reminder text, and our form elements. So now we need to make it look nice and spread out so that it looks pleasing on the eye. So what we're going to do that is use some of Convertry's alignment tools. So if we select our backing panel, you'll notice that we get these dashed lines around the other elements within it. And that basically means that these are contained. So if we move our panel around, you'll see that they move along with it. And what that means is we can align all the elements within the panel using just one button. So if we come up here to these rectangular icons, these are our alignment tools. And if we use the drop down arrow, you'll see we've got all these tools here. And we are just going to want to align all of the elements to center. So we center align them like so. You can see now they've all been put in the middle of the form. And then we'll space it out slightly. So we'll just select each element on its own and move them up. I'm just using my arrow keys here. You can obviously drag them up, or you can even go to element properties and use the position arrows here. So if we wanted to move them to the left or to the right, you can do so, or up and down as well. So we'll get our form laid out like so. And then we want to just make sure that there is equal gap between these three elements here, just so it looks as neat as possible. Now you can see at the moment we've got quite a big gap between email and download, and a rather small gap between first name and email. So what we can do to fix this is hold shift and select all three images, all three elements, and then again come back to our alignment tools up here, and we can use the distribute vertically tool, and that will put equal space between all of the elements there. So our form is now looking a lot tidier. The last thing that we need to do with our form is just add the border so that we've got the rounded edges, and we're going to make the background a little bit transparent. So as you can see here, it's kind of see-through and we've got these rounded edges. So I'll show you how you can do that now. So if you select the panel, come to element properties again, and then come to borders, you can add your borders here. Now you can add a border for each corner so that you could have like a different width border for each corner. So let's say we wanted the top left to be like that and the bottom right to be 100 as well. We could do it like that, but in this case we want them all to be the same. So we can click on this little button here, and that puts one radius for all corners. And as you can see, it automatically updates so that all of them have got the same. We don't quite want 100. We'll just go with 20. That should be enough. And again, as with the color picker, you can use the arrows and it will update live on the page. So you can play around with that and find one that you like the look of. We'll stick with 20 though in this example. And now we'll change the background so that it is a little bit transparent. So if you come to your background color picker, you'll notice on the right we've got this sort of gradient style toolbar, which is basically showing you how transparent your color is. So at the moment it's 100, we've got 100%, and if we bring it down, you'll see that it's increasing its transparency. So we're going to set it to about 75, and that way you can still see the background image in behind it, but you can also still see the text here. So that is the desktop version of your page now done, and we'll show you the mobile version, so what it has created. So if we come over here to mobile, in the top right, you'll see that Convertri has automatically created the page for us in mobile, like so. Now, if we make a change, we'll just show you that it updates automatically. We need to put our privacy policy text down here. So if we do this now, and then we'll go back to our desktop page and show you that it actually updates that live. So let's add this text, privacy policy, and we'll center align that. And then we're going to want to hyperlink this. So highlight the text, use our hyperlink feature up here, and then just type your link in. So I'm going to use Convertri's privacy policy page, for this example, but obviously if you've got your own privacy policy, you can link it to that. And then we're going to want to set it to open in a new tab. Now, the reason for this is that if someone's on your page and they want to click the privacy policy, we don't want them to be taken away from your page completely. So by setting open in a new tab, what that does is it basically moves them onto the privacy page, but the main page is still open in their browser. Otherwise, they might get lost and basically wander off and not sign up, which we obviously don't want. So I'd always recommend setting it to open in a new tab when you're setting any hyperlinks on your page. So we've done that now. And if we go over to our mobile page again, we'll see that it's updated that and it's put that exactly where it is on the desktop page. So let's show you some things you can do in the mobile editor. So we've got the automatically created version, but what if you wanted to change it slightly? So let's say you wanted to shift the headline and the main text and swap them over for some reason. You wanted to do that. You can do that on the mobile page like so. And then if you go back to desktop, you'll notice that it hasn't changed it here. So basically, you can make edits to your mobile version and it won't affect your desktop version. So say there was something that you wanted to have laid out differently on the mobile page, you can go into the mobile editor and do exactly as I have and just manually change it. And if you make a change and you don't like it, you can obviously use our undo feature in the top left or Control Z on the keyboard. But we also have a remobilize tool, which basically will rerun the automatic mobile conversion. So if we made loads of changes and we made a right mess of the page, if we come into our mobile editor, hit remobilize all, that will put it back to the automatic version that Convertri has already created for us. So one thing that we actually do want to change on our mobile page is the text scaling of this text here. So at the moment, the default is set to 150%, but we're going to change that slightly down to 115. And that is basically just going to make that text a little bit smaller so it's not too big on the eye on a mobile device. And as you can see, it's changed that now. And like I showed you there, you can just do it for one element. So we did it for this one, but you'll notice that these didn't change here. If you go into the page like we did for the default text styles, and then for paragraph, we can change this here so that each text element that's set to paragraph has the exact same styling. So if we do it to 115, you'll see that all of them have changed now, not just the one we highlighted. So that is essentially now our opt-in page done. We've got our desktop version and we've got a mobile version that we're happy with as well. So the next thing that we need to do is set up our thank you page. So we'll save our opt-in page now, come out of the editor, and we will create our thank you page. So instead of adding a new page, what we can do is use this three-dot menu on our opt-in page and then click more. And then we can hit the clone button and we can rename the page. So we'll just call it thank you. Select clone, and that will make an exact duplicate of the page that we've just created. So this is going to give the effect that we're basically using a template. So we're going to make some slight edits to this page here, but because we want it to basically look the same style, we can clone the page and save ourselves a lot of work. So we'll go into our thank you page now where we can make some minor adjustments. So we've got our thank you page open here, and obviously you'll notice that we've got these elements on our page which we don't actually need anymore. So we can get rid of these. We'll select them like so, one by one we can delete them. And we did not actually need to delete the download button there because we're going to need that later on. But we'll delete the text that we don't need, and then we'll edit this text here so that it sort of fits our thank you page theme. So we'll change it to something like click the button below for 7 tips for slimming without starving. And I'm just going to capitalize these because if I don't, it will bug me. So sorry about this, you just give me 1 second. 7 tips. There we go, that looks a lot better. Okay, so now you'll notice that we've got quite a lot of excess space on our panel here. So if we move this up like so, and then just decrease the size slightly, and then we'll move it so it's more central to the page. So the next thing that we want to do is, using our download button, we're going to want to make some slight changes to the setup of the button itself. So you'll notice that we had it on sign up before, but we now actually want to put it on download. And this is because we're going to put a file on the button so that when someone clicks on it, they can download the lead magnet. So you'll notice that once we've changed the mode to download, we're going to be given this option here to add a file into Convertri. So if you click select file, it will bring up a similar modal to the images, and you can see I've already got the lead magnet in here. Again, if you wanted to upload a new file, you simply click upload here and it will bring up your file locations and then you add your own one. I've already got it here though, so we can just use this one. And that will basically allow us to put it on the page. Now, before we do that, it's worth pointing out that the file size is limited to 40 megabytes. So if you have a file that's bigger than that, what I'd suggest you doing is either getting it self-hosted somewhere, so somewhere like Amazon S3, and then you can either put that link onto a PDF and upload it, upload the PDF because obviously that won't exceed the size limit, or you can change the download, the mode of the button to link and then add your link in. So I'll show you that now. If you change it to link, it will basically give you an option to add a link into the button. So this is where you'd put like your self-hosted link, and that would take your user to that site when they click the button. But in this case, we're going to use download, and we'll use the lead magnet that we've got here. Now, force download on click is basically personal preference. I'm going to leave it off though, which basically means that when they click on the download, it will open the PDF in a browser tab as opposed to automatically downloading it to their computer. It's just personal preference really, but I'd keep it on, leave that off. So we've done that now, and similarly we can check the mobile version of it, and as you can see, we've got pretty much the same page but for mobile. And we're just going to make a slight change to our download button, and just for design purpose again, we'll change the color to green. And Richard's asked, what if you wanted to redirect? I'm assuming you mean, Richard, if you wanted to redirect to another page rather than a thank you page, like a different URL. Now I'll show you the redirect when we go back to our opt-in page and we're going to set up the form. So if that's what you mean, you can definitely choose another location that isn't like a Convertri thank you page. You can just type that into the URL option. So I'll show you that now as we're about to move on to that section. Yeah, that was what you meant. Okay, great. So yeah, we can demo that in a second. So for now, our thank you page though is done, and as we are completely finished with it, we can publish the page. So if you publish it here, you'll see that I've got my domain. I'm using domain Convertri subdomain, but if you had a custom domain set up, it would read that here, and then the path is basically just the bit after the slash. So we're going to just put thank you, and this will then be our thank you page URL. So we'll publish that now. And that is now a live page. And if we come out of this thank you page and go back to our original opt-in page, we can now wire up the form. And before we do that, we've got a question in regarding how to integrate autoresponders. So I'll just show you where you can do that briefly. If you go into account And then down on the left toolbar here, we've got integrations. You'll see we've got all of our autoresponder list, all the ones that we have an API with, and you just click on the setup. And you can see on this one, I've already connected it, but say Aweber, you connect your account like so, and it depends really on what service you're using, but this is the menu to do that. So we go back to our funnel and we'll go onto our opt-in page. Now, before we actually start, I should mention one thing that's worth doing before you set up your form, and that is using these arrows. And although they are basically just to help you envisage where the link is going, so you can see there we've got a visual idea that this page links to this page. They also help Convertri to provide a suggestion for where this opt-in page wants to redirect. So you'll see when we set up the form, it's going to automatically suggest that it redirects to this thank you page. So if we go into our opt-in page and then come up here to forms, we can set the form up now. So you'll see here, we've got our list of autoresponders, just like I showed you a moment ago. And if you've got any of these integrated, you can use any one you want. I'm just going to use MailChimp for this example as it's one I've got integrated. And then search for target is basically going to bring up the lists that you have set up in MailChimp. So I've just got this one, dogs training help, which is just a test list that I've been using. So I'll just use that for now. And then you can see here, we've got all these field types. Now we want first name and we want the type to be set up as first name. And then we want email, the type to be set up to email. Now the field types we'll explain in a moment, but we just need to make sure that they are correctly set up so that the information gets passed on to the right place in our autoresponder. So once we've set up which autoresponder service we want to use, we click next. And then we're going to see here, this is where we can choose our thank you page URL. So at the moment, it has suggested the thank you page that we set up. If we had more pages in the funnel and more arrows coming off our opt-in page, it would have these in a list here. But as we've only got the one, this is all it's suggesting at the moment. And now this is where, Richard, for your question, if you wanted to type in a custom URL, so let's just say for this example's sake, you wanted it to go to Google for some reason, you just type that in like so, and when they submit your form, it will redirect them there. So if you've got a custom page set up already, you can put that in there, definitely, no problem at all. But we're going to use our thank you page that we've set up. So we'll go to suggestions and click that. And now our form is set up. And we just need to make sure that our field types are the same as in our form setup menu. So if we select our first name element and then go to form field settings, you can see that the signed field type is also to first name and email is to email. And basically you want to set this to be matching so that your autoresponder and your input in Convertri are the same. And this is because Convertri is going to look for matching fields when the information is passed over. So as long as they match, the information will get sent to the correct place in your autoresponder. And for email, we're going to want to make that required. So basically that means that they can't submit our form without submitting their email address because we basically want their email address. That is why we're doing this. So we'll set that to required, and that way we are guaranteed to get the email if they do want to download the lead magnet. And now that is basically our page all set up and ready to publish. So if again we go over here to publish, add our opt-in path, hit publish, and we now have a live funnel. So if we click view page here, we'll be taken to the live page. As you can see, lightning fast page loading, even with this huge resolution image. And now this is a fully functioning lead funnel. So if you wanted to go to the page and sign up to test it out, feel free to do so. And that is the lead funnel demo completed. So have we got any questions regarding anything that you've seen there in that demonstration? If we keep the questions for now just to the demo, and then later on, once I've shown you the editor tips and tricks, we can have a more general Q&A about any other questions you've got about Convertery. But for now, is there anything in that demo that you'd like to see again, or anything that you've thought of regarding that at all? Richard's asking, what about checking if the email is valid with something like never bounce? I'm not actually quite sure what never bounce is, Richard. Sorry about that. Is there a way you can explain it? It isn't something that we've got integrated here at Convertri, so I'm not actually quite sure what that is. Sorry about that. And someone is asking what these blue guidelines are here on the page. So you can see these blue lines, and they are just guidelines. So what they are really there for is to show you what will be included on the screen for 100% definite. But these guidelines are 4 years old. So they were set when Convertri was first created. So they're set for smaller screens, which basically means anything sort of just outside this safe zone will be shown on the page for sure. If you do want to change them just for personal preference, you can come here to display, and then as you'll see on the page, they're getting wider now. But we can restore those default guidelines like so. I see. So it's like an email verification, never bounce. Now, as I said, it isn't something that we've got integrated. You may be able to put it on your page using a custom HTML element. So if you select this one here and then element properties, you can add your HTML code in here. I'm not sure if that's something they offer. It might be worth looking at their website to see if they do. But if you do want to look into it, and then you can always open a support ticket with us. Support@convertri.com. We'll be happy to get in touch with you regarding that, like in more detail if you wanted to have a look into it. But off the top of my head, I'm not too sure. Sorry about that, Richard. And Dave is asking how to integrate an autoresponder that isn't listed. So that is a great question, Dave. If you go to forms, you'll see down here that we've got a HTML form option, and it's blacked out at the moment because we've set up our autoresponder. So I'll clear that now, which will detach the form from the page. So if anyone's doing the live test, please be aware that it won't work once I've done this. But we've taken that off now. So say you wanted to set up a service that we don't have an API with, you can use this HTML forms, new form, and then you can add it with a HTML code. And just like the HTML element that I've shown you a moment ago, you can add that in here. So a lot of these autoresponder services will have an option to copy the code for your list. You basically copy that in here, and then that will allow them to sign up to that list, even if we aren't integrated with it. Any other questions before we move on then to our editor tips and tricks? Okay, it looks like we're all good to go then. So we'll come out of our opt-in page that we've just made, and we will go onto our editor hacks page. So this is using a Convertery template, and we're going to use this page just to show you some cool shortcuts and tips in the editor to make your life using Convertery a lot easier. So you can see here we've got a fully built out page. Our designers have done a great job on this template as usual. And there are some things that we're going to want to just change about it to show you how you can use the shortcuts in Convertery. So to start with, one thing that I would recommend doing for all new users is clicking on display, turning on element outlines. What that basically does, as you can see now, we've got these hot pink lines that are around each and every element on the page, and they basically show you where each element starts and finishes. Now, the reason this is so useful is, say you have them turned off and you really want to select this text element here, but you think that the text element stretches out all the way here. If you select on the panel, it's not going to click the text element. Now, if you turn the guidelines on, you can see exactly where it starts and finishes. So you don't need to guess, you can just select the element easily. So I definitely recommend putting those on if you're building out some pages for the first time. And they're also helpful really for like designing pages as well. You can see where all the panels end and start. So first thing I'm going to want to show you is removing a whole section on a page. So let's say this menu section, for example, we've decided that we don't actually want it here anymore, but we don't really want to have to go and select each individual text element, all the panels, etc. So what we can do instead is select the black backing panel, which I've done here. And once you've done that, you literally simply come up to this delete selected button, click that like so, and the whole section has gone. So at the click of a button, we've deleted about 10 elements. We haven't had to faff around with them at all. They are now all gone from our page, and we've got this white space here on the page. Now, you might not want the white space. Say you want to just close the space up so that the about is the next section. Another really cool tool that we can use to do that is the clear white space tool. So again, you'll select the backing panel for the about section, and then you want to come up here next to the delete icon to remove white space above. And if you click on that, that will snap the about section up to the nearest element above it, and in doing so, remove the white space. So we've now deleted a section, and we've got rid of the white space that the section left behind. But what if you actually want to create space on the page? So let's say you want to add another section between this about bit and the top section of the page. Now, to do that, you might think that, oh, you're going to have to move each element down one by one, or move each section down before you move the top one down. Well, actually, there's a way you can do that without having to individually select elements, and that is using the shift drag feature. So if you select the backing panel for this about page, hold shift and drag it down, you'll notice that the gallery section is moving along with it. We've created some space here, and the whole rest of the page has moved down as well. So we haven't had to start from the bottom and move each individual element down. By using the shift drag feature, they have all moved down with this element. That is obviously a really easy way to make space on the page without having to spend loads of time doing so. So we'll undo that change just because we don't want the space there. And John's asked if we can watch a replay of this. Yeah, there will be a replay, John, so I'll just show you now quickly for everyone's benefit as well. If you come to our knowledge base, which is help.convertery.com, and then there's a section here called Getting Started Webinars, and this is where we post all of our replays. So the replay will usually be posted in about a week's time, but once it is done, and uploaded, this is where you'll find it. So if you need to watch anything back, come to this page here and you'll find all of our replays. So now we've moved this back up and we've got our page back in order, we can show you some further keyboard shortcuts, and the next one is Alt drag. And just before we go on, I can see we've got a few questions in there in the chat. Don't worry, I'm not ignoring you. So Don, Teddy, SR in the chat there. We'll come to them at the end of this demo, and we'll cover those more general questions after that, if that's okay. We'll get this bit done first, and we'll come to those at the end. So Alt drag, this is basically going to act as a cloning feature. So like we cloned with the button up here, if we hold down Alt, select the element and drag like so, you'll see that it makes an exact copy of it. Like so, we've now got our 3 copies, and we can use these to show off some more of the alignment tools. So if we add our panel, and this is going to make sure all the elements are contained within it. So we'll make it bigger than where the elements are, and then we'll send it to the back. So this is our layering feature. We'll send it to the back, all the way to the back, and then we'll bring it forward slightly until it is behind these elements. So you can see they're all moving along with the panel, just like our form on the opt-in page, which means they are contained, and that means we can use our alignment tools to fix them all up. So let's say you wanted to have all these images so that they were exactly in the center horizontally of this panel. You can use the middle align feature, and that will put them all in the exact same line. And then just like with our form elements, we can justify them horizontally to space them out evenly. So we've now got an even amount of space in between each of these images. And that is really useful because obviously it takes away like a lot of the faff. If you're trying to do it by eye, it's quite hard to get the exact like spacing. So like so I'm showing you here, you might be just off. But with that alignment tool, it's going to do all of that for you. So you're not going to have to worry about messing that up at all. So the last thing then that we're going to show you in the editor is probably the most important thing when you're designing pages in Convertri, and that is just to understand really how the mobile editor works. So we showed you earlier how you can make a change on mobile and it doesn't affect desktop, but what we're going to focus on here is creating pages that are actually well designed for the mobile algorithm. So we'll show you now our mobile version of our page is a little bit different to our desktop version. So if we go to mobile and back up to the top, you'll see that unlike on our desktop page, it's got bread, pastry, coffee, and then the descriptive text below. So it doesn't really read that well for a user. What we want is bread and then the descriptive text below that, and then the same for pastry and coffee. Now the reason why the algorithm has done this is because Convertri's mobile algorithm reads the elements on the page from top to bottom and from left to right. So the first one that it reads is the logo, then it reads this "we are open," then the image, and then it reads bread, pastry, and coffee. So it's putting them on the page in that order. So you'll see logo, "we are open," image, bread, pastry, coffee. Now we don't actually want it to do that. And to save ourselves from having to rejig the page manually, we can just make some slight design changes that will make Convertri's mobile algorithm read the page slightly differently so that it builds it in a different layout. So if we add a backing panel, what we're going to do here is make sure that these elements are contained. And that is because the mobile algorithm understands containment. So we'll add the panel, send it to the back, bring it forward so that this is now contained, and we will do the same for pastry and coffee as well. like so. We've got all those in now. And now they're all contained. When we go to our mobile editor, you'll see that it's automatically updated that live. It's made the changes as we've done them. We haven't had to do anything, but it has rejigged the layout of the page. So now it reads nice and clear, bread, the descriptive text, and the same for pastry and coffee. And that is obviously ideal because we don't want our users to be confused. And it's really important to remember those containment features. So by using backing panels to contain elements you want to display together, the mobile algorithm will read it like so. Yeah, it really is like magic. It really is quite cool how it does that live. You don't have to make any changes. It does it all for you. So containment is key, is basically the takeaway from that. When you're building a page in Convertery, that you want to be a good page in mobile, because that's going to save you a lot of time. You're not having to do any manual rejigging or anything like that yourself. It's done it all for you. So we'll show you it one more time, but this time on the social icons at the bottom. We can show you at the moment without the panel. If we go down to the bottom of the page, these have been laid out vertically, but we probably want them to be horizontally like they are on the desktop page. So again, we can add a panel. We don't want to add it to the top, so we'll scroll to the bottom, drag it down here, and then we'll position it so that it includes these social icons, like so. Send it to the back, bring it forward, and they're now contained. And if we go to mobile, it's going to put them in that horizontal order. Now, the one thing to remember when you're doing like images in a line like this is that the maximum width for mobile is 300 pixels. So if we drag this panel and just check the position and the size, you can see that it is 308. So if we make that about 360 and then go to mobile, it's going to put them vertical again. And that's because it's hit its maximum, which is 300 for the width. So to make sure it doesn't do that, we want to have it below 300. So we'll do 290, and then we're actually going to want to just drag it out a little bit so that that's contained. Bring it in like so. It's 208. Back to mobile, you can see that it's changed it again. So it's all horizontal again now. So that is our editor tips and tricks completed now. So we've done the demo and we've done our editor tips and tricks. We hope you found that useful. They certainly save me a lot of time when I'm designing pages in Convertri. So we can go now on to some more general questions. Anything you want to know about Convertri at all? I know we've got some stacked up in the chat, so I'll just go back up and get those now while you're thinking of any more. So SR, I think we've covered that about the mobile doing it at the same time, like we've just shown. And Don's asking about menus. Yeah, so we've got a really cool menu feature now built into Convertri. It's been here for a few months now. It might even be more than that. But, you know, in this day and age, I'm losing track of time. So I forgive me to our developers if it has been here longer. But nevertheless, it is a really cool feature that you can use on your pages. So this is the icon for it on the Elements tab, menu like so. And we'll just do a quick demo of how it works. So you add it in and you go to element properties, and this is where you put your items. So let's say we wanted one item to be a link to another page. We wanted one item to be an internal link, and we wanted another one to be a submenu. And then we can get rid of this last one. And then once you've done that, you click the arrow like so. Make sure the item type is what you want. So we've got link, internal link, submenu. Link will basically allow you to link that option to another page. So let's say we wanted to link it to Google. Internal link is going to allow you to link it to another element on the page. So let's just say we want to name this element image. So if you're using internal links, you're going to want to name your target element. So we'll make this the target. We'll name it image. And then we'll go back to our menu. And we'll change the internal link to internal link. and we'll click image, and that is now our target. So if we click that, the page will automatically scroll. And then sub menu is basically a mini drop down within the menu, so we can add some just example types. So 1, 2, 3. And again, just like before, you can set these to link or internal link. So if you wanted to have a sub menu that then linked off to other pages, you could do that, no problem. And we'll do a quick publish just to show you how they work in live time. So now that's published, we'll click on link, and you'll see that will direct us to Google because that's what we set up. Internal link will automatically go down to this image, and then finally the sub menu will drop that down, and if we'd set up those, we'd be able to click them as well. So that's how it works, and you can design it any way you like. You can change the text style, the color, the background of the menu, and we've also got these really cool built-in skins for our menus. So I'll just show you one of them. I like the mint one best, so we'll select that one. And as you can see, it's made loads of cool changes automatically. You haven't had to design any of that yourself. And if we republish it, and we'll show you those changes on the live page as well, you can see it's got a nice on mouse over effect as well, and the colors have all been changed for you. So that is basically our menu element in a nutshell. I'll drop in the guide to using menus in the chat as well if anyone wants a closer look at that. That is now in the chat, so you should all be able to access that. And just tackling now the next question, we've got, can we import WordPress or ClickFunnels pages? Now you have to have our page importer to do that, but if you do have the page importer, you definitely can import pages from WordPress or ClickFunnels, but it is important to remember that you need to have ownership of those pages. So if you wanted to do that, come to your funnel, click import page, and then you need to import from an external URL. And you would type that in here. Obviously, as I said, you need permission, so you'd confirm that, and then you'd name the imported page, click import, and it would do just that for you. Now, not all pages import perfectly, so you might have to make some edits now and then, but we'll drop in that help doc for you in case you want to revisit that and see like the step-by-step of it. So I'll put that in the chat as well. Okay, so next question we've got from Cynthia. You're saying your menu bar, which is at the top, isn't showing on mobile version. Any advice? Now, I'll show you what it might be the problem. Obviously, I can't see your page, so if this isn't the case, then I would just suggest writing into support at support@convertery.com. But what it might be that you might have your element set so that it only shows on desktop and not on mobile. So for example, you can see these are both blue. If I select mobile and turn it off so that it's grey and go to mobile, that's no longer there. And the element I've selected, you can see we've got this hint here. You can't see this element because its visibility is not switched on in this design mode. So it's worth checking if that is why. And if not, just give us an email and we'll be able to get someone to take a look at your page for you, okay? And we've had another question similar to the import one. So can I edit pages from ClickFunnels in Convertery? If you have available pages that you own that you want to import into Convertery, then you'll be able to edit them in Convertery like that. You can't just sort of open it directly from ClickFunnels in Convertery though. You have to import the page first. There's no way to edit it in a live fashion like that. And someone's asking if we can go over videos quickly. Yeah, no problem. We've got our video element. So specifically Convertery videos and not YouTube or Vimeo. That is completely fine. We'll go to our opt-in page just so it's a little less crowded than this one here. And before I do that, we'll show you where you can actually upload videos to Convertery. So if you go to account campaigns, getting ahead of myself, campaigns, and then videos here. This is where you upload your videos. So as you can see, these are the ones that I've uploaded. Again, you'll have an upload button which will open up this modal, and then this will open up your files, so you wouldn't be able to see that. We won't upload one now as it can take sort of varying lengths of time depending on the file size, but this is where you actually upload one. So once you've done that, you'll go back to your funnel that you want to put the video in. So we'll open up the opt-in page. And the video element is under media. So you select that, select video, and that will bring up the Convertri video player. Now, as you can see, we've got the video source here. So you can either add a self-hosted video. So let's say you had a video that you hosted on Amazon S3. You'd copy that link in here, and that would then play on the Convertri player. Or if you want to use one that you've uploaded in your account, like I've shown you just now, click on select your video, and then the drop down will have all the videos that you've got uploaded to your account. So you can just suggest one. And then if you put that on the page, so let's just say we're using this one as an example, that will then put this on the page like so. So once you've done that, you've then got your options. You can use to autoplay if you want to. We've got autoplay on desktop, autoplay on mobile. You can have as much customization for that as you want. And then you can also change the player appearance. So we've got some skins similar to our menus. So let's say you wanted to go for the solar. If you change that, you'll see it changes to a nice orange color. And then basically that is how you use the videos. Again, we can drop in the help document from our knowledge base, which is a video player overview, if anyone wants to revisit any of that. But I think we've pretty much covered that from pillar to post, from uploading one to putting it on a page. Great. Okay, any other questions before we wrap this up then? Okay, someone's asked about adding a custom domain into Convertri, which is obviously quite a common thing that people want to do. Yeah, that is definitely something that you can do. I won't be able to show you the whole process now, just because it can take a few hours for all the changes to take place. But if you did want to add a custom domain, you'd go to account and then down here to domains, and you'd want to use Convertri with a new domain. So you'd select this option, and this is where you'd type in your domain. You'd have to have it registered already before you added it. So you'd need to have purchased it from a domain registrar somewhere like GoDaddy. But once you've done that, let's just say you had example.com, you type it in there, and then you'd click add, and then you would make the right changes. Now, it is a little bit of a difficult process to explain. So what I'll do is I'll drop in our custom domains guide into the chat, as we've done with the others. And if anyone wants to take a look at that, then they can see the entire process. Okay, so any other final questions then before we wrap this one up? We've covered quite a lot today. I hope you found it useful. I've certainly enjoyed doing it all, and it's always a pleasure to help people out getting started with Convertri. Everyone has to start somewhere, so it's always nice to know that we're making a difference. Oh, you're very welcome. Glad to know that it was helpful. And just before we go, we've got someone asking about our analytics tool, so we can quickly show you a brief overview of that. So you'll notice in here you have an analytics tool for each funnel. If you select that, you'll see you've got your page views and you've got the amount of prospects. And if you had any products on the page, here's where you'd have your revenue. We obviously can't really see much at the minute because we haven't got many stats. But at the moment, this is what it will look like, and it will obviously display that information like so. Okay, that looks like that is all the questions then. If anyone thinks of anything after they've gone away for the evening or during the day, don't be afraid to drop in to either our Facebook group or on the support desk, support@convertery.com, and we'll be able to answer all your queries there for you. No problem at all. Okay, so thank you all for tuning in. Again, as I say, it's been a pleasure, and I'll hopefully see you all very soon. Thanks, guys.